Good morning. This is Pear Deck Take 2. I appreciate you guys joining me yesterday for our webinar, and I'm apologizing for the technical problems that we had. So we're going to take 2 today, and you're going to learn about Pear Deck, and you're going to experience it with 3 of my best friends, and hopefully you'll be successful and on your way to using it in the classroom. So I'm Linda Brandon. I'm the manager. I was the manager of instructional technology in Lakeland. I'm a consultant with the Lower Hudson Regional Information Center now, and I'm happy to be with you today, you Katonah Lewisboro teachers, telling you all about Pear Deck and what you can do with it. So here's our agenda. You're going to learn about what Pear Deck is. You're going to learn how it works. Hopefully, I'm going to convince you that there are a lot of good reasons to use it with your class, both in a live environment and in a distance learning environment or a blending learning environment. We're actually going to see it in action. I'll show you how to set up your account if you haven't already, and there will also be some resources for you to explore at the end. So without further ado, what is Pear Deck? My husband asked me that question many times. It has a silly name, and I can't actually tell you why they call it Pear Deck. But what Pear Deck is, it's actually a lesson delivery system that you use in conjunction with presentations. So many of you may have presented with PowerPoint or Google Slides over the years as you're teaching. But you know that sometimes a PowerPoint presentation can sort of turn into a chalk and talk type environment where you're doing all the talking and students are looking at your screen and dozing off and losing interest. And, you know, you have to do everything in your power to keep your kids engaged and excited about your lesson. So what Pear Deck allows you to do, it allows you to keep a much more active learning environment, because interspersed among your slides, you will have your usual text, and you probably have some videos, and you might have hyperlinks to sites that have important information. Your slides undoubtedly contain a lot of images, maybe diagrams, maps, depending on what discipline you teach. But it's not a particularly interactive situation when you're running a slideshow as an instructional vehicle. What Pear Deck lets you do, it lets you intersperse a lot of interactivity right in the middle of your presentation so that you can get student feedback while you're teaching. You can see if your kids are getting the content, are they engaged, are they following along, do they understand what you've been teaching them? Can they apply their critical thinking skills to go further with the content that you are providing to them? So the types of activities that you can add using Pear Deck would be additional text. Students can add text to your presentation. They can respond to you through multiple choice or short answer. They can actually respond to you by drawing or writing right on the screen, should you be so fortunate to have touch screens. And I know that at Katonah Lewisboro, you do have iPads in your classroom, so it's a really great tool to use in conjunction with the technology that you have. Students can have drag and drop activities and all kinds of things. So the best way for you really to do it is to experience it. Why should you use it? Because you'll be able to hopefully engage every student. You'll be able to promote more active learning in your classroom. You will know where students are in their learning. You'll be able to see, are they getting it? Are they understanding? What do I have to review? You'll be able to foster communication and discussion within your class using Pear Deck. And at the end of the lesson, you'll also be able to provide some meaningful feedback to your students. So we're going to dive in right now, and we're going to experience Pear Deck live. Now, in order for me to do this, I actually have to exit from my presentation mode to show you how I'm going to activate Pear Deck during this presentation. So now you can see my slides. It's a regular PowerPoint presentation, and I want you to know that you can take any presentation that you've ever made throughout your teaching history and turn it into this active learning experience by using the Pear Deck add-in. It's called an add-in. And when you're using my Pear Deck on Microsoft, you will go to the Insert menu and you will choose Add-in. So here we have add-ins over here. And you can see here that it is it's an admin managed add-in. That means that as a teacher in Katonah, Lewisboro, your district has bought the premium version, which gives you fantastic benefits that I'm going to tell you about. So I'm going to click Pear Deck and I'm going to click Add. And now I'm going to be able to present this lesson to you as a Pear Deck lesson so that you can experience it in real time. So you can see over here now those three little dots. Now that I've added the Pear Deck add-in, I click on Pear Deck down here and I get a whole new menu that appears over to the right of the screen. You can see I can present with Pear Deck, and you'll also see down here that I have access to all the different tools available to me as a user of Pear Deck. These would be the templates that you can access, etc. But right now I'm simply going to present with Pear Deck to show you how quickly you can do this. So I click the Present with Pear Deck button. It asks me, do you want to do a student-based activity or an instructor-based activity? The difference between the two is that the instructor-based activity means that I'm still in control as the facilitator of this lesson. I'll be able to advance the slides, but you won't be able to advance the slides on your own. I'm going to be guiding you in the instruction. So when you're doing this in a live environment in the classroom, should we be so lucky as to be with our students this fall in the classroom, you could do an instructor-based activity and your students would be following along with you on their own devices. A student-paced activity means the students are going to be progressing at their own pace, and you would use that situation if you were going to assign Pear Deck, say, through a homework assignment. I'm going to start with the instructor-paced activity. So your students are coming into the class, the bell just rang, and they come in and they get their devices and they sit down at their desk and they see the screen in front of them. And it says joinpd.com and it gives you a code. So I want all of you now who are in this class with me today to open a new tab on your browser, and I want you to simply type in joinpd.com, and then you're going to type in IISMM. And they always put this cute little anagram underneath, insincere incentives, switch misty ninjas, as if that's supposed to help you learn that code. But it's just kind of a delightful way to get your students interested and engaged. So I'm waiting for you to join right now.
I go to, oh, no, it changed.
Now I've just advanced to the next slide, and it asks you, how are you feeling about Pear Deck so far? Well, I probably think you're going to give me thumbs down because you didn't have a good experience on the first slide. But let's see how you're feeling about Pear Deck so far. Oh, you do like it. Look at that. You've both put your icons on the thumbs up. Oh, they're kind of changing their mind. Well, you know what? I can lock your screen right here. So you can see that this is how you would be taking the pulse of your class, like at the beginning of a lesson. How are you feeling about the topic that we're going to be discussing? So you can see that you are responding, and I, as the teacher, can project this in front of you so that you can see how your classmates are responding. Now I'm going to advance to the next slide. And I'm going to ask you to tell me 2 things you already know about Pear Deck. Now, you should be able to write on the slide by using the text box if you'd like to. Or if you had a touch screen, you could write with your finger. But I'm going to ask you, probably the best way to do it would be to use the text box. All right, so now I'm going to take you to a different type of interactive slide. And this is a slide where you're actually going to be drawing lines to match the answer. Okay, so I'm interspersing all kinds of different slides into this. These are slide templates that Pear Deck has made available to all users, and I'm going to show you how to access these templates. So in this case, this would be used in a world languages class, obviously, a Spanish class. If you wanted to see, do your students know the colors in Spanish? Now, as I'm looking at my big screen, I can show the responses and I can see how you guys are doing. And I can choose to display this in the front of the room. Are both of you answering the questions? And on my little, on my iPad, I can also see who's answered these questions in which way. So you can see here that right now I see this is one student's answer and this is another student's answer. And as students in my class, I can display the options to you, but it's anonymous. You don't know how Claire answered. You don't know how Elaine answered. Elaine doesn't know how Phil answered. But on my dashboard, which I'm looking at right here on my iPad, I can see which students are answering in which way. So that gives me a lot of data in terms of how my students are doing in this particular lesson. And I'm just going to show you a few, yes, I have a question.
Yes. Do I have to turn it in when I'm done, or
No.
how do you know that I'm done?
I can absolutely, I can click on my little, I can actually click on my screen here on my dashboard and I can see how Claire has answered each question. I can see how Elaine and Phil have answered each question. And I can choose to display your answers any way that I want. And I can say, oh, this student seems to know their colors very well, but you don't know who answered what. So it remains anonymous for the students, which is really important on the kinds of questions that would be more the higher level thinking questions that you might want to have a class discussion. Now I'm going to go to the next slide. So here, this is a science template. So here's something, yeah, and again, I downloaded this right from Pear Deck. All of these templates are available to you. You can create your own or you can use what's available to you. So this is part of their science collection, describes what's happening in this image. So students are writing responses. And as you're writing responses, I can show the responses up on the screen, and I can see the two of you have answered. You can see how your classmates have answered, but you don't know which classmate has answered how. But on my screen, I know which student has answered. So I can see, oh, well, somebody said gravity. So I might want to talk about that a little bit and ask, why do you think this one student answered gravity? What about that picture says that this is displaying gravity? Now I advance to another kind of slide. I'm just trying to show you all the different types of activities that you can do in Pear Deck. This is one that I actually created from scratch. I didn't use one of their templates. I inserted a map of the United States. I inserted a text box and I inserted all of these icons. So I'm asking you, you have icons on your screen. There's a heart and I ask you to drag the heart to the statement that you agree with. Summer, fall, winter, or spring is the best season. I'm asking you to drag the star to your favorite state, and I know exactly where one of you is going to go with that, and the flag to your favorite sport. And as you're doing that, I can look, if I want, on my dashboard over here, and I can see how each one of you is answering individually, but I can also, as part of our class discussion, show your responses up here on the screen so that you can see how other students are answering too. So I can see California is one of the favorite states, although I did say put the star on your favorite state. Someone doesn't quite know how to follow directions correctly. There we go, very good. And somebody likes biking as their favorite sport. Now I want you to notice up here that when I decide to show these slides to my students, I can either do the overlay view, the list view. Wait, this is the list view. So that's one presentation at a time. And again, you don't know who answered which one, but I know who answered which one. This is the grid view, which shows all the students' responses at once. Or in a drag and drop activity such as this, the overlay view is kind of nice because now you can see where people are dragging their flags. Another really nice feature about this, and I've seen this actually in the classroom when I've been doing this live with teachers, is that as students start seeing each other's answers, they start moving their things around like I saw you guys doing. So I can actually lock your screens so that you can't move your icon once I give you enough time. And by the way, you can do a countdown, either 30 seconds, 1 minute, or 3 minutes, so that students know they have that much time to answer the question. Again, this is a template. They have a whole set of templates. They have templates for science, for math, for social studies, for ELA. This is a template that's part of the Littlest collection, they call it, for young learners. There's really a lot of nice templates for young learners. So I'm going to see, how are you guys doing with your time telling? Oh, that's a good answer. So one nice extra thing about Pear Deck that I love is the fact that right in the middle of my presentation, I might go, wow, this class just isn't getting it. I need to just quickly I need to put up a quick prompt to see how is this class doing. So I'm going to do a quick temperature check right now, and I'm going to say, do you understand right now, based on the presentation that I'm giving you, do you understand what Pear Deck is and what it can do for you? Because I'm not sure that I'm explaining it quite well enough to you. So let's see how you guys are doing. Oh, you're all very kind. Almost. All right, so you're getting there, okay? So you see how right in the middle of my presentation, without even advancing to the next slide, I can just throw up a quick prompt just by clicking on new prompt, all these different templates that they have for you. I love the thumbs up, thumbs down, because that's really getting a quick temperature check. But I also just might say, I might throw up a slide like this and say, do you guys know your subtraction facts? Can you tell me what is the answer of 99 minus 42? Could you please put your number right up there on the screen? 99 minus 42. Looking good. Here's one that I did for a social studies lesson. It's a map of Henry Hudson exploring the river that bears his name. What was Henry Hudson trying to find in 1609? Do any of you know? Have you been doing your research on Henry Hudson? Very good. Very good. So that was a multiple choice question. And here's another one. What year did World War I start? But a better question that is much more interesting in terms of eliciting higher order thinking from your students would be using this same image in this way. I'd like to see you write a caption for this photograph. And then we could look at each other's answers, we could discuss them, and we could have a real discussion about visual learning and what we can elicit from looking at powerful images. So again, there are so many different things that you can do with Pear Deck. I've just really barely scratched the surface. Here's another one. This is a timeline of World War I. Again, these templates are available to you. As you can see down here, you can also push out URLs to students to give them some scaffolds to use in their learning. And based on what you've seen so far, how are you feeling about Pear Deck and its value in the classroom? And I'd like to see your answers. And again, I can do the overlay view, the grid view, or the list view. So that is my introduction to Pear Deck. Do you guys have any questions before I stop recording?